Shang Wan stepped barefoot onto the floor, his silk pajamas hanging loosely. With each step, the intense masculine aura emanating from him pressed forward, giving Zhi Tang no room to retreat. Now you're resorting to surveillance. You really regressed. After Zhi Tang barked out the sentence. Trying to sound fierce, her heart raced wildly. It wasn't fear, it was excitement. The first step of her plan had succeeded. Shang Wan walked up to her, his tall figure completely enveloping her. He bent down and picked up the tablet from the floor. The screen was frozen on the image of her frantically, biting his Adam's apple the night before. Regressed? He chuckled softly, his fingers gently stroking the screen. Zhi Tang, where's that ruthlessness you showed when you dumped me 3 years ago? What you no fear now? Zhi Tang looked up, meeting his deep, unfathomable eyes. They churned with emotions he couldn't decipher. Anger, mockery, and more than anything, a long-minus suppressed madness. Shang Wan we broke up, she said, her voice trembling but forcing a firm tone. Last night was a mistake. I was drunk. Drunk? Shang Wan let out a laugh as if hearing the biggest joke. His long fingers suddenly gripped her chin, forcing her to look up. At a place like Blue Note, you couldn't even get through the door without a regular bringing you. What about Zhu Zicheng? Your new flame. Why didn't he see you home? A shock went through Zhi Tang. He even knew about Zhu Zicheng. You've been investigating me. She feigned shock. I don't investigate the dead. Shang Wan said coldly, a flash of malice in his eyes. Zhi Tang, did you think 3 years would erase the debt you owe me? He suddenly leaned in, his face close to hers. Zhi Tang instinctively closed her eyes, her eyelashes trembling violently. The anticipated kiss never came. Instead, there was a very soft sigh, tinged with mockery. Get up. Get dressed. Shang Wan straightened up, returning to his aloof demeanor. I'm taking you somewhere. Zhi Tang opened her eyes, somewhat stunned. Where? You'll know when we get there. He turned and walked towards the bathroom. You have 10 minutes. If you drag your feet, I'll do it for you. Zhi Tang bit her lip. Watching the bathroom door close, she quickly picked up her clothes from the floor. With her back to the door, she swiftly slipped on her dress. The reflection in the mirror showed her neck and collarbone covered in suggestive marks. She tugged at her collar, trying to hide those embarrassing traces. 10 minutes later, she followed Shang Wan out of the hotel room. Outside, a black Maybach was parked. Shang Wan opened the rear door, gesturing for her to get in. The car headed west, driving towards the city's outskirts. Zhi Tang watched the familiar scenery outside the window, her heartbeat quickening. This road led to only one place, the Shang family's private cemetery. As expected, the car stopped in front of a grand cemetery. Shang Wan got out first, walking around to open the door for her. His movements were gentlemanly, but his gaze was as cold as ice. Get out. Zhi Tang took a deep breath and followed him into the cemetery. The morning sun filtered through the pines and cypresses, casting dappled shadows. The surroundings were eerily silent. Shang Wan lead her along a long stone path, finally stopping before a row of new gravestones. It was the Shang family ancestral tomb. Shang Wan stopped, turned to look at her, a cruel curve forming at the corner of his mouth. Zhi Tang, 3 years ago when you left, I made a vow. In this lifetime, you will either be mine, Shang Wan's woman, or you will become a ghost of the Shang family. He took a ring from his pocket and knelt on one knee. It wasn't a proposal ring. It was an antique silver ring engraved with intricate patterns, the heirloom token passed down through generations of the Shang family heads, the heart-lock ring. Legend had it that whoever wore this ring would be eternally bound and loyal to the head of the Shang family. Put it on. Shang Wan's voice brooked no argument. Zhi Tang looked at the ring, her pupils contracting slightly. She knew the weight of this ring, and what wearing it would mean. And if I don't? She asked softly. Shang Wanyi stood up, grabbed her hand, and forcefully slid the ring onto her ring finger. Size was a perfect fit. There is no if, he said coldly. Last night you made your choice with your body. Yi Tang looked at the ring on her finger and suddenly laughed. The smile was bright yet eerie, completely unlike her usual meek self. Shang Wanyi, do you know? I've been waiting for this ring for 3 whole years. Shang Wanyi was stunned. Seeing the amusement in her eyes, a wave of inexplicable panic washed over him. What do you mean? Yi Tang raised her hand, displaying the ring. This ring, I had it replicated. I calculated that you would appear today, calculated that you would bring me here. Shang Wanyi, you think you're the hunter, but you don't know you've long since fallen into the hunter's trap. Shang Wanyi's face instantly darkened. Yi Tang, you're playing with fire. Yes, I'm playing with fire. Yi Tang stood on tiptoe, leaning close to his ear, whispering, But this fire, it was you who lit it. She suddenly wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him on the lips. Shang Wanyi's whole body stiffened, then he took control, kissing her back fiercely. The two tangled passionately before the gravestones, as if venting 3 years of resentment, or as if confirming each other's existence. After a long time they separated. Yi Tang leaned against his chest, breathing heavily. Looking into Shang Wanyi's dazed eyes, she thought silently, I'm sorry, Shang Wanyi. I must get the Shang family's secret treasure to save my critically ill brother. And that treasure only the mistress of the household can touch. Shang Wanyi, she called softly, take me home. Shang Wanyi looked at her, the anger in his eyes gradually replaced by a deep sense of resignation. He sighed, picked her up in his arms. Home. Car started again, leaving the cemetery. Yi Tang leaned against Shang Wanyi's chest, watching the scenery flash by outside the window, a slight smile playing on her lips. The first step was a success. Next, it was about how to get the treasure and escape unscathed from the Shang family's dragon's den. However, she didn't notice that Shang Wanyi's gaze upon her wasn't one of anger but rather a look of clear understanding, as if he had already seen through everything. He lowered his head, looking at the ring on her finger, gently stroking the back of her hand. Yi Tang, you think you're the hunter, but you don't know you've long since become someone else's prey. Chapter 2: Fatal Gift. The night was as black as ink. The lights of the Shang mansion appeared especially deep and gloomy within the curtain of rain. Yi Tang wore a black velvet nightgown, walking barefoot on the cold marble floor. She held her breath, dodged 3 infrared alarms, and finally arrived at the entrance to the secret room next to Shang Wanyi's study. This was the forbidden ground of the Shang family, and also the legendary hiding place of the secret treasure. She retrieved a fine wire from her hair and skillfully inserted it into the keyhole. This was a skill she had practiced for 3 years. How for this day? Click. The lock gave way. Yi Tang slipped into the secret room, closing the door behind her. The room had no lights on, only the emergency lamps emitted a faint green glow. She turned on her phone's flashlight, sweeping the beam across the walls until it settled on a glass display case in the very center. Inside the case lay a velvet box. Yi Tang's heart beat violently. She hurried over and entered the string of numbers she had long since memorized. It was their anniversary date. Password error. She frowned and tried again. Still an error. Could it be she guessed wrong? Just then, a soft chuckle came from behind. What's the matter, darling? Already hitting a snag? Yi Tang's whole body stiffened, and she spun around. Shang Wanyi stood at the door, holding a glass of red wine, looking at her with a half-minus smile. She had no idea when he had arrived. Shang Wanyi, she instinctively stepped back, her back pressing against the display case. How did you get here? This is my house. Why shouldn't I be here? Shang Wanyi swirled his wine glass and slowly walked forward. But as for you, Yi Tang, not sleeping in the middle of the night, sneaking into the forbidden ground to steal something, is this what you call coming home? Yi Tang gritted her teeth, deciding to drop the pretense. You know what I'm here for. Of course I do. Shang when he stopped. Naomi step away from her. You're looking for the Shang family's secret treasure, aren't you? He pointed at the box in the display case. It's right there. Want it? Take it. Chai Tang was stunned. He was just giving it to her so easily? Why? She asked warily. Didn't you say this treasure is tied to the lifeline of the Shang family? That's the story for outsiders. Shang Wenyi gave a light laugh, his eyes suddenly turning profound. But for you, Chai Tang, the lifeline of the Shang family was never some treasure. He suddenly reached out and pressed his finger against the display case's biometric claw. Beep. The display case door opened automatically. Shang Wen he picked up the velvet box and slowly opened it. Inside lay a diamond ring. A huge blue diamond sparkled with a mysterious light under the lamp. Chai Tang's pupils contracted sharply. This wasn't any secret treasure. This was the diamond ring Shang Wen he had used to propose to her 3 years ago. Hugh. Her voice trembled slightly. How is this ring here? Shang Wen he picked up the ring, gently stroking it. 3 years ago. You dumped me, and you didn't even take this ring. I thought you didn't want it, so I hid it away. Later, I publicly declared that the Shang family possessed a secret treasure, all to lure you back. He suddenly grabbed her hand and slid the ring onto her ring finger. The size was a perfect fit. Chai Tang. Shang Wen his voice was low and hoarse. You think you're the hunter, but you've always been the prey. I set this trap to make you understand the truth about why you left 3 years ago. Chai Tang looked at the ring on her finger, tears welling in her eyes. What truth? Shang Wen he pulled a document from his pocket and handed it to her. It was a diagnosis report from 3 years ago. 3 years ago, your father's company went bankrupt, burdened with massive debt. You intentionally told me you didn't love me anymore to avoid dragging me down, right? Shang Wen's voice carried a tremor. But you didn't know. I had already found out. I investigated your father's debts, and I also found out that to repay them, you almost got taken advantage of by someone. Chai Tang looked up at him, shocked. You? How did you know? Of course I knew. Shang Wen he pulled her tightly into his arms. Chai Tang. You thought you were protecting me, but you were hurting me. Do you know how I spent these 3 years? I've been looking for you, waiting for you to come back. Chai Tang leaned against his chest, tears wetting his collar. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Shang Wen he lowered his head and kissed away her ears. No need for apologies. Now, you back. That's enough. He suddenly cupped her face and kissed her deeply. This kiss carried 3 years of longing, 3 years of resentment, and even more, a sense of cherishing something regained. After a long while, their lips parted. Chai Tang leaned against his chest, breathing heavily, looking at the ring on her finger. She suddenly remembered something. But, my brother, your brother's illness, I've already cured it, Shang Wen said softly. 3 years ago, I secretly sent people to take care of him. Now, he's already receiving treatment abroad and will recover soon. Chai Tang looked up at him, incredulous. You, the one I've loved? It's always been you. Shang Wen looked into her eyes and said seriously, Chai Tang, marry me? This time, neither of us, let's go. Chai Tang looked at him, tears welling up again. She nodded forcefully. Okay. Outside the window, the rain had stopped. Moonlight broke through the clouds, illuminating the figures of the two holding each other. Shang Wen he took out his phone and dialed a number. Hello, it's me, he said calmly. Cancel the plan. Tell her brother the surgery can proceed. After hanging up, Chai Tang looked at him. You. Shang Wen he smiled. What, thought I was lying to you? Chai Tang, you think you were acting. But every scene you performed was in my script. He suddenly leaned close to her ear and whispered, but I like it. Because I was acting too. This act, we've been performing it for a lifetime. Chai Tang leaned against his chest, a slight smile curling at the corner of her mouth. In this game, there was no winner or loser. because they were each other's hunter and each other's prey.